Welcome to yet another ham radio video. I'm Jay, KQ4DUX, and today we're talking about what I like to call the CW Morse code learner's ladder. Now, it may be better described as steps, but you get the picture. The purpose of this video is I'm not an expert, I'm learning, I'm on the journey with you. I started out in CW in the fall of 2023. It's now summer 24, and throughout that time there was a lapse about 4 months where I was not even on the air. So I maybe have 6 months under my belt as far as being on the air, and just wanted to share my experiences. So I created a list of where should you start out making your first contact, and where would you go for there. You obviously want to progress as your skills improve, and you want to try different things. This is just a guide to help you, and by no means is this conclusive. I'm not here to argue about this one's more difficult than that one, and I've got the order all wrong. You can put them in any order you like. This is just the order I choose, and a lot of these I can see a lot of arguments, and I had a hard time deciding which one I would put above another one. So with that being said, let's talk about making your first contact on CW. And I do have a video, and we could take a look at that in one of the videos below. I'll have my first ever CW QSO, where I got on the air in less than a month from learning my first character. And that's not to brag or make me look good, it's just to let people know that that's possible. And if you see the video, it's not that impressive. I was pounding on that key like I was trying to pound nails. Very sloppy, but I did make the QSO. I did get in the log, so hey, I'll take it. So many people have advised, and I do agree, Parks on the Air or POTA Hunter is a great way to do your first QSO. Why? Because two things, it's very short and very predictable. Now there's stations on the air every day. You can go to pota.app and see who's at a park, find the frequency, and I would suggest just go and listen. Trying to listen how things go. And even if you don't know CW well, even if you don't copy all the letters, you will pick up the patterns. You will pick up CQ POTA. You will pick up BK, which is back to you. And you will pick up RR, Roger Roger. You will pick up 559, 599, and so on. So basically, what you do, they call CQ, and I would suggest waiting for a station that's not busy in the middle of a pileup, and that they've called CQ a couple of times, and you answer them with your call sign. One time, your call sign only. If they hear you, they will respond with your full call sign if they copy it the first time, and if propagation is good and they can hear everything. But you must be prepared for the question mark. If you don't know what the question mark is, you need to learn that, because that was what saved me on my first contact. Is I had watched a video, I believe by Thomas Witherspoon, K4SWL. Excellent channel. I credit him for me getting into CW. Check him out. But he goes through this process in more detail than I'm going to today. Check out those videos. But I remembered what that question sounded like, and I did KQ4DUX, and I got back, I believe, KQ4 question mark. So that's a signal to me. I heard part of it, please do it again. So I did. And then he repeated my full call sign, which lets me know that he has heard the full call sign and copied it. And then I heard a bunch of beeps and dits and dahs, and then I heard my signal report, and then I heard back to you. And then I did thank you, you are, I don't remember for sure, 559, and then I list my state, Alabama, AL, and back to you. He replied with a bunch of stuff I didn't even understand, and dit, which means we're done. And that was my first successful contact. Have fun, watch the video, laugh at me, I don't care. I did it anyway. And from there, what I tried to do is to at least hunt 1 or 2 stations every day. Once I was successful once, it doesn't mean you just move on to the next thing. Get good at it. Get comfortable with it before you move on. And I'm not against pushing your limits, but there is something to be said on doing the basics, doing the fundamentals, and getting proficient at one level before moving on. So the next one after that, I didn't follow this order, but we'll talk about them. As far as the speed and how complicated the exchange is, I participated in my first field day this year, and I was one of a couple of CW operators, and I might be the only one that made contacts. But very similar, you throw out your call sign, or you respond with your call sign, and then you give the signal report, and then what your type of station is. So 1 alpha, that's 1 person, and there's alpha, beta, and that, or bravo, and so on. I think it's A through D. Don't quote me on that, but if you looked up field day, you could find out all that. So your exchange would be your call sign, how you're operating, 1B, 2A, 2D, whatever it is, and then your state. And that's it. And then they take that, thank you, and move on to the next person. So it's also very short, it's very predictable. But one thing you will find is you're going to find a lot of people going faster because it's field day and everybody's trying to make contacts. You might have to fight it out a little bit more to get heard. So a little bit more intimidating. But as far as if you're comfortable with hunting POTA stations, you should do all right in field day. And I put other special events like 13 colonies, Route 66, some of these other things, QSO parties, very similar. Just take a look. Usually they have a website and they talk about the exchange, what you're required to exchange. And then, as always, listen to it 5-10 minutes. Listen to 2 or 3 stations before you get in there and throw out your call sign. And the next one I've got up is SKCC QSO, and that stands for Straight Key Century Club, of which I'm a member, and QSO is just conversation or exchange. And I try to part on this channel because I'm a beginner, and this channel is geared towards a beginner's perspective. I try not to skip all the nomenclature without describing it. If I do, please ask in the comments. I'll be glad to tell you. But QSO is your QSO, as people say, is just an exchange, a conversation, or something like that would be the best way to describe it. RST, that's your signal report. So something different about CW, you probably know. You have 3 numbers instead of 2. On voice, you have 5.9, 5.8, 5.7. Then there's 3 with Morse code. Is like your readability, the signal strength, and then your tone, because you have a problem with your radio. Your tone might not be correct, so they want to have a way to report that. And I did experience that. There's another video on that that you can watch. I'll try to link to that below. So, with the Straight Key Century Club, typically your signal report, your name, your QTH, which is your location, and if you are a member of the Straight Key Century Club, they usually exchange numbers. And it goes on from there. The more comfortable you get with it and the other person, they may talk about what rig they're using. I have an Icon 705 or whatever the rig is. Also antenna, you would hear ANT. Well, that stands for antenna. I have a dipole up 48 feet or whatever it would be. They may also talk about the weather. You may also hear HW question mark. That one threw me off the first time. That is short for how copy, or how am I doing? And one thing that I learned about that is I thought, well, I just gave the signal report. Why are you asking how to copy? Well, things progress, and as you're going through the QSO, you might have QSB, you might have interference, some other thing coming in. So maybe I'm copying them great right away, and then he starts to fade out and you can barely hear him, or may disappear almost completely. So at that time, you've got to be prepared to say some QSB, or I don't copy, or I didn't copy your last question. So what was funny about this, a rookie mistake that I did, I looked online, I heard about POTA, done that, checked the box. Oh, Straight Key Century Club. They go slow. I can handle that. I can copy at 10 words a minute. So I found a station calling, and I put out my call sign. And I was expecting this. I was expecting signal report and state and move on. That was my own fault because I hadn't researched enough. And the guy went on and on and on and on. And it seemed like forever. And I got lost copying. I had no idea what he was saying. And then he sends back to you. And I froze. And I don't even remember what I did. I may have just shut the radio off and walked away. But I was not prepared for it. So this is to help you prepare. That taking the next step, you're going to get a little more detailed in the exchange. And the next one is calling CQ. And I can understand how you maybe would put this above or below. You would switch these 3 or 4 around, and I get that, but this is just how I went. So the next thing I did was started calling CQ. I tried to call CQ once a day to twice a week, and I would get out and set up my radio, call CQ, and what you'll find, especially if you've already done this on SSB, you already know you don't get someone every time, but you're still getting practice because you're listening, because you're setting up your radio, because you're keying. It's still a process that's helpful, and you don't know who you're going to get. Where with this and this, you know, you kind of know what's going to happen. You can get anybody's calling CQ. You get someone really awesome operators like I did. I got a ham from Brazil who had been a ham for 50 years. He's got an awesome QRZ page, just amazing. And he took the time to slow way down to 8 or 10 words a minute, repeat himself several times till I got the call sign, and we exchanged, and that was great. But that's just another level, and then you can get comfortable calling CQ. It's really one of the best things you can do as far as the hobby in general. Get on the air and call CQ. Don't just scroll around, listen for somebody else doing it, because many times there's a lot of people like you who are out listening, wanting to engage in a conversation, but they're just listening. They're not putting out their CQ. So the next one, CQ field day or special event. So as I mentioned, this was my first field day this year, and I got on the air. I tried to hunt a few stations, and it was tough getting through. Everybody's piled up, so I thought, why not just call CQ? I'll run the show, and I can listen. They can come and find me. Well, that worked out pretty well. I set my speed down to maybe 13 words a minute, which nothing to be embarrassed about. There's a lot of people out there that don't feel comfortable copying at 20 or 25 or even faster. And they're looking for stations that are QRS or going slow so that they can have a comfortable exchange. Maybe it's their first field day. Maybe they're new to CW. So when I'm running slower than I'm capable of, I'm doing it as a service to everyone else as well. Even if I'm not pushing my own limits, there are other people out there and you're helping them out. So like I already explained what the exchange is like, now I'm copying. I'm copying the call sign, what type of station, it's a 1 alpha, it's a 4 delta, or whatever it is, and the state. And then, you know, I have to write it down and log it and all this stuff. So now you're kind of doing multiple duties. Now it's on me to do all of the copying. And sometime during that event, I remember just like it just happened, I'm doing all this, I've got 4 or 5 in a row, and it's going pretty well. And I'm thinking, activating POTA, I can do this. If I can do this in field day, I can go out and do parks on the air and call CQ and become an activator. And that's exactly what I did. One thing, my first ever calling CQ POTA with CW, I was actually out trying to activate SSB. People weren't coming back to me. It was getting frustrating. We had rain coming in. I knew my time was limited. So either I got everything went perfect and I got the activation successful, or it wasn't going to happen. I figured, what do I got to lose? Even if it's a complete failure, I'm going to get rained out anyway. So I called CQ POTA, CW, spotted myself, I believe I spotted myself. I may not have, but and someone came back to me, and I was so proud because I got his call sign, copied every character the first time, made my exchange, moved on. No one else ever came back to me. 2 minutes later, the rain started, shut everything down. But that was a great learning process because I finally had the guts to go out there and call CQ quota as an activator. Shortly after that, a few weeks later, I had my first successful one. And it may have been right in this spot. And again, I set my speed down where I was very comfortable, 12 or 13, nothing wrong with that, nothing to be ashamed at. And if people hear a station calling real slow, if they're a good operator, they're going to respond slow, or at least give you a lot of spacing. And now you're copying call signs, and you might run your pileups. And since I had experienced some of that in field day, it wasn't so intimidating, and it went well. And a lot of people stay at here quite a while, and there's nothing wrong with that. And some people get very good. Maybe they can do 20, 23 or higher words per minute on call signs and signal reports, but then they move up to this one, and it's like starting all over again. And it's called conversational rag chew. So, you know, your straight key century club or calling CQ can kind of get into this. I guess, I don't know where you draw the line, but when you just start talking about anything and you don't know what you're going to hear, you don't know what their name is, you don't know anything, but you're just relying on your copying skills, and you're also sending whatever you would like a conversation, and that's a whole different ball game, and it's a great thing to get to. A lot of people very, very comfortable. To me, that's one of the most fun things, even on sideband. I'd rather sit and have a conversation with someone for 15, 20, 30 minutes than, you know, a quick exchange from a contest. That's just me. And there's nothing wrong with contesting, which moves to the next one. So contesting high speed. This is where people get a little more serious, because some people contesting really want to win. They get pushy in pileups, or whoever's running the pileups, they don't want to fool around with somebody that shouldn't be there and doesn't know what they're doing. So it can be a little more intimidating. They can go very fast. 30 is not surprising at all. 40, I mean, it goes up and up from there. But the big thing here is going to be speed, and they want people that can copy fast, send fast. They don't want to mess around with question mark 15 times to get things right. So before you do this, make sure you can copy, listen to the station, make sure you know their call sign, know how they run. You know, you'll hear the pattern to how they send and how they reply. What is their cue that it's over? Sometimes it's TU, that's it. Sometimes it's dit, sometimes it's 7-3, sometimes it's QRZ, which means who's next. And just make sure you know what you're doing before you respond. And then we get to the pinnacle. Now I thought, let's see, what would be, I mean, if I could see someone do this, I mean, that'd be amazing. Unbelievable. Okay, high speed conversational rag chew. We're talking 40 plus, 40, 50 words per minute, and plus PBS and UNI. So if you're a fan of this channel, you've been watching for a while, I like to take the time to explain all the acronyms so people don't get lost in the jargon. And you maybe you're like, what is PBS, UNI? Eating a peanut butter sandwich while riding a unicycle. So if you can imagine someone high-speed conversational rag chew, 45, 50 words a minute while they're riding a unicycle with their KH1 and eating a peanut butter sandwich. To me, that's the pinnacle. So if you can get there, please send me a video. I'm sure it will go viral. But all jokes aside, high speed. Sorry for all the cuts, guys. Having trouble with my phone cooperating. So finishing this up once I got home. After my corny jokes, I was apparently just cut off by the powers that be, or maybe just my Samsung. So conversational high-speed rag chew, you get to the point where you're head copying and you're just hearing the language that is Morse code, and you're just communicating, you're not copying, you're not thinking about it. I think that would be great. I hope you can get there. I hope to get there. Maybe not a desire to go that fast, but definitely always room to improve. So with that being said, you have watched yet another video on ham radio. Hope you enjoyed it. Please like, share, subscribe, send me $100 bills, whatever you'd like to do. No, seriously, it would really help. And I hope you have learned something today as far as climbing the CW ladder. Good luck on your CW journey. Get out there and take the next step and hope things go well. 73 KQ4 DUX.